Greetings, everyone. This is Umby here, and we're back with Georgia VGC Draft League Season number 2, and we are covering the finals where Darius and Manny are facing off in one side of the bracket, and Alex and Purplepiglis are facing on the opposite side of the bracket here. So still two members of each of the groups from this season, fighting to see if one from each group can potentially stay here leading into the finals. So as per usual, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the replays. Ahead of those replays, we are going to do a little bit of a breakdown of the matchup from both sides. So let's go ahead and take a look. For our first match, we'll have Darius versus Manny. And for Darius' side of things, we saw previously how they had a little bit of a trickery with their team that they have to apply across the board. Because when you look at it, the first three members are kind of doing the heavy lifting: the Iron Moth, King Gambit, the Azumarill. I kind of predict the bulk of the team's damage comes from them. Because even if you look at something like the Titan, just kind of a juggernaut for the team, especially if you get the Slush Rush going, it's not all that strong just on its own. It doesn't have like the greatest attack power. Sure, you could beef it up with the belly drum, but that's going to require a little bit of setup and support to really make it pop off. So again, looking at the first three members, which in their own right are individually strong enough, you could put a lot of focus on them, or have to put a lot of focus on them to make sure that they're taken down respectively. But just having to rely on those three Pokemon, if there's any one or two Pokemon that jams all three of them up at the same time, you gotta kind of scramble around for your other options there, and it's a little bit weird because what you have the Gothitelle, you have the Altaria, so that just kind of screams the potential of Paris trapping. You also have the Houndstone, which can be an underlooked beefy member of the team, a little bit of a disruptor as well. As a ghost type with the Fluffy ability, gets a pretty good defensive boost there, especially when you start to toss in Will-O-Wisp into the mix. So if they can use their disruptors particularly well to give those first three mons some breathing room, they could come out on top, or at least gain some edges along the way that could lead to a win in this matchup. Manny, on the other hand, we did talk about how while there aren't any like direct synergies between most of the members on the team, just about each individual Pokemon are strong in their own right. Immediately jumping out is the Dragonite and the Goldingo as strongest members of the team, attack and special attack wise respectively. But neither Arcanine nor Brute Bonnet are slouches on the attack as well. And aside from that, you have a good amount of type coverage as well. You got your Fire, Water, Grass core through the Arcanine, the Gastrodon, and the Brute Bonnet. Gastrodon particularly with a useful ability in Storm Drain. Even when we're talking about like nullification or like mitigation of damage, you have Dragonite, which has the potential of multiscale, and Goldingo just naturally with its typing, Steel and Ghost, having three immunities naturally, that can help as well. Particularly having an immunity to Gothitel's Fake Out also gives Manny a little bit of breathing room here. So they can kind of play like a more standard game. They don't have to dig too deep for any, special Terra types or Terra Blasts or special attacking options. Like, I don't know, like a Boom Burst somewhere if they ever had that. They can just kind of go with standard move sets for the most part and just play a more solid game to try and come out on top. But yeah, I'll leave it up to the players to kind of speak with their technique, so to speak, as we get into these replays. On the bottom of your screen, we have Esquire, aka Darius's team here. They've opted for the Houndstone, Gothitelle, Iron Moth, King Gambit, Azumarill, and Mug. Meanwhile, Manny has chosen Sneasel, Arcanine, Goldingo, Dragonite, Brute Bonnet, and Gastrodon. Here we are in game number 1. So Gothitelle and Iron Moth are going to lead here, and they're going to look at Sneasel and Goldingo. So one thing to note out here is Sneasel does have the faster fake out of the two, so they're going to have to figure out how they want to target things down. And Esquire's just going to go here with a double protect here, recognizing they can't fake out the Goldingo, of course, and Sneasel keeping the Iron Moth in check since Gothitel's fake out nor Psychic can really do anything here. but that allows Goldingo to get a nasty plot on turn 1 here. They're gonna protect the following turn, go with the Icy Wind from Sneasel, try and get the speed advantage in his following turns. Heat Wave brings Sneasel down to Sash, as the Gothitelle actually sets up Trick Room, so that Icy Wind may end up hurting in the long run here, depends on some previous spreads. Goldingo immediately scouting out the Heat Wave by using Terra Water, does so correctly as the Iron Moth does underspeed the Goldingo under his Trick Room here. But with a +2, that Shadow Ball on the incoming Mug does quite a bit of work here. Iron Moth, Terra Ground as the Gastrodon comes in. Mug gonna Drain Punch the Gastrodon, not gonna do too much, as the Gastrodon uses Earth Power to the Iron Moth, takes that very well. But Energy Ball is gonna be the option here to bring Goldingo down low, so not in too much trouble here. Avoided the worst of the disaster, as that +2 could have done quite a bit of work here. Arcanine is gonna take its place as it hits extreme speed onto the Iron Moth, bringing it down low. So Mug and Iron Moth begging for life a little bit here. Gastrodon with the Ice Beam to follow up just after Mug's Poison Jab, doing decent damage to the Arcanine, 41% DF. Iron Moth down, Gothitelle comes in here. Arcanine's going to protect, stop this last turn of Trick Room, and Scout Fake Out. But it goes into the Gastrodon instead. Mug with a Poison Jab into the Arcanine, not going to find it thanks to that protect, but Gastrodon can't move this turn either. Trick Room is down. Let's see what happens. Flare Blitz, go ahead and finish off the Mug here. We have Psychic from the Gothitelle, not doing too much damage to the Gastrodon just yet. It's going to heal that back up with leftovers just fine. But it tosses out a Yawn for its troubles, as Houndstone comes in to try and salvage this game. Arcanine with another Protect here. Correctly does so, as the Yawn from the Houndstone was actually aiming at a slot, along with another Psychic from the Gothitelle, this time aimed at Arcanine. Gastrodon's going to use another Yawn into the Houndstone, and it is a 2v2, so neither Pokemon can switch out right now to reset the drowsiness. Houndstone's going to protect here. Correctly does so with the Flare Blitz, probably fearing that Arcanine thanks to the Fluffy ability to boost the damage. Gastrodon with Earth Power to that slot, tried to double up to get a quick KO, but nothing doing it just yet. Both Pokemon are asleep though. Flare Blitz, 47% to Houndstone is going to be pretty good trying to set up a KO pretty soon. Both Pokemon are asleep too, so Manny looks like they're in control of this matchup right now. Another Earth Power into the Houndstone, bringing it just down to around 30%. But Houndstone wakes up, goes for a Protect, it's going to heal a little bit from that leftovers recovery if they aim for it. Flare Blitz finds the Protect from the Houndstone, Earth Power does just the same. Gothitelle, however, still going to be asleep, but that's going to be the end of its sleeping turn, so it's about to wake up soon. Houndstone with a Shadow Sneak trying to get some chip damage in before it falls, but not enough to take down the Arcanine, as it takes the Flare Blitz for the KO, and the recoil damage is not enough to bring the Arcanine down either. Now just a sliver of health here. Yawn's going to fail, as Gothitelle went for the Trick Room, allowing it to move last before it put up into that Yawn. The Protect here is going to stall a turn of Trick Room, but they get to scout out what the opponent wants to do here. But of course, it's just going to be an extreme speed. That's all Manny can do with the Arcanine under this Trick Room. So Gothitelle moves ahead of it and potentially KO it. Gastrodon with the Psychic. Going to go into the... Gothitelle with the Psychic. Going to go into the Gastrodon. Not going to finish off the Arcanine, curiously enough. Arcanine's going to use Protect to stall out and make sure that the Drowsy activates asleep, as Gastrodon keeps pounding away with the Earth Power into this Gothitelle. Even with a couple of turns of Trick Room left, it doesn't seem like Gothitelle has anything left in the tank. Meanwhile, Manny's still hanging on for dear life with this Arcanine at 5% health, extreme speeding away, activating the Wiki Berry onto the Gothitelle. Gastrodon with another Earth Power to chip it down further, and Gothitelle is still asleep as the Trick Room goes down. And we're going to finish off the game with a Flare Blitz. Everyone hanging on to the very end, and it's going to be Gastrodon standing over a pile of bodies to lead us into game number 2. And we'll go right into that, where Darius is actually going to lead with Muck this time, alongside the King Gambit, and Manny opting for Dragonite and Gastrodon this time. King Gambit going to escape the field in favor of Houndstone, and Dragonite reveals Surf, curiously enough. It's going to activate the Storm Drain on Gastrodon, increases power. Earth Power doing 48% damage to Mug. Not a lot considering the super effectiveness, but Mug firing right back with an Ice Punch to KO the Dragonite clean out. So we now know this inner focus on the Dragonite rather than the Multi-Scout. I think it might have survived here. Arcanine is going to come in though and finish things off with the Flare Blitz, get some revenge for its buddy there. And Houndstone's going to get the party started with Yawn. Try and put this Gastrodon down a little bit. Does have a special attack boost. Kind of wants to focus on it a little bit. Earth Power doing a fair bit of damage, still doing 45% damage to this Houndstone. Ironmouth coming in now. And to note, we do have the booster energy. It is the special attack boost for it, of course. Ironmouth going to Terra Ground one more time here. And Manny actually brings in Brute Bonnet, scouting out, predicting that Terra Blast going into it very well here. So they get a free turn to try and bring things back here as the Gastrodon is going to go to sleep, even as the Terra fires here. Going to escape though for the Arcanine here, who's going to take a Yawn from the Houndstone and get Drowsy. The Kingambit also comes in place of the Ironmouth here, switches right back out. Houndstone with a Protect, trying to scout out another move. Flare Blitz going into that slot. Very well defended here. Gastrodon still asleep, not able to output any damage with this special attack boost that it received earlier in the game, unfortunately. Ironmoth with a Terra Blast ground into the Gastrodon, who's now Terra Fire, takes a ton of pain for his troubles. A double up with the Body Press is going to finish it right off, and that Terra didn't see any use, unfortunately. Arcanine's also asleep thanks to that Yawn. Brute Bonnet coming back in with a Sucker Punch. It's effective, but not going to do a ton of damage here. Houndstone is incredibly bulky. Ironmoth with the Heat Wave brings the Brute Bonnet down low, also gets a burn for its troubles. Doesn't matter either way. Body Press doubling up is going to finish it off, as the Arcanine can not really stand to do anything right now. Still asleep, it's going to take a Terra Blast ground version for a clean KO. That's going to lead us into game 3. Since for all the marbles, see if we can make it into the finals, have a shot at that crown. Alright, one more appearance from the Houndstone, one more for the Muck. And Brute Bonnet leads for the first time for Manny alongside Goldingo, making his return appearance from game 1. As it terrestrializes into the water type, immediately starts nasty plotting. Houndstone with the Body Press and the Brute Bonnet, not doing too much there. 35% still pretty decent, but a Spore from the Brute Bonnet onto the Muck, preventing it from doing anything like perhaps a Fire Punch into the Goldingo. Sucker Punch into the Houndstone to get some chip damage off. Goldingo with a +2 Make It Rain is more than enough to KO the Houndstone and do quite a bit of damage to Muck, bringing down to half health. Ironmoth going to come in with that booster energy activated, try and counteract this Goldingo's damage here. Goldingo going to scout things out with a Protect, expecting that energy ball headed into its waist, not trying to get KO'd this time, as the Brute Bonnet bravely stays in, even with the threat of Heat Wave, and spores the Ironmoth to sleep. Well played by Manny, but Muck with a Poison Jab as it wakes up, brings Brute Bonnet down low, but still does not KO. That is one bulky Mushroom. Shadow Ball into the Ironmoth, going to bring it down low as another Spore puts Muck to sleep. It's looking very dire for Darius here, as a Sucker Punch lands from the Brute Bonnet, finishes off the Ironmoth. There's a Shadow Ball from Goldingo. Not going to KO the Muck, but it is begging and clinging on for dear life as it's still asleep. Azumarill comes in, immediately terrestrializes into water. Goldingo's going to try and scout out, see what it wants to do, as the Brute Bonnet, content to just Sucker Punch the Azumarill here. Doesn't matter if it gets knocked out right here and right now. It's just trying to get chip damage off wherever it can, and it got a little bit more room to do more chip damage as it survived the turn. Sucker Punches again and activates the Citrus Berry on the Azumarill. Goldingo with the Make It Rain, gonna finally knock out this Muck, bring Azumarill low here. Azumarill tries to play rough, does only 24% to the Goldingo right now, and it's gonna fall to a Sucker Punch, a critical hit, but even then, I'm not sure it was long for this world, as Goldingo is in control of the match to bring it to an end. Well played by Manny to get into our finals. A very convincing game 3, I would say. Like, as soon as the Muck got spored, even while the Ironmoth was in, and he protected the energy ball, the game was truly in his favor. Goldingo with the +2 special attack just couldn't be contained from that point. Very well played, and congratulations. For our next matchup, we're going to have Alex versus Purplepiglis, and I think both teams are a testament to the fact we may have slept on certain options for Draft League, as they both brought Gengar and Primeape to these semifinals. So keep those two in mind whenever you're doing your next draft league. Maybe they'll do the same for you. In any case, for Alex's side of things, we've commented before on the, the general durability of the team alongside the immense amount of damage they can pull off at the same time as well. Just starting from the obvious three, the Great Tusk, the Tyranitar, the Corviknight, setting up that Sandstorm, and all three having immunity to it while chipping out the opposing team can help fix the numbers a little bit when you're trying to get those crucial KOs. Make sure they're in certain ranges that you normally couldn't hit, which I think is a very valuable tool for this team. Even if you've seen Alex use Magneton recently a lot, who also has that immunity to the Sandstorm as well, and also presents a special side of attack to things where necessary, especially when you consider the analytic ability and the fact that it's going to be slower than most of the Pokemon on the field, which it doesn't mind. It's really just looking there to support the team there. We've seen it use Helping Hand a lot to try and boost the damage of things like Tyranitar and Gengar, even Great Tusk when it comes down to it. So a lot of damage on the table while being able to resist a lot as well. You also can't sleep on the Gengar. It's been putting out immense amounts of damage if it's not suspected. The only thing is that it can't really, or it can't reliably run the Focus Sash if Tyranitar enters the field too soon. So you may have the advantage that it might not be running Focus Sash, or if it is running Focus Sash, it may die in the next turn way, thanks to the use of the Sandstream on Alex's team. But I'll leave it up to them to determine how much of a risk that is for the reward that they could gain from putting out tons of damage through things like Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball. On the opposite side of the field, we got Purplepiglis with their Iron Bundle Dragonite, just immensely scary duo on their own, and each of those two members have been putting in work, a lot from Dragonite in the early game, and then if needed, reserving Iron Bundle for the later part of the game has worked wonders to bring Purplepiglis up to this point. That being said, I do want to kind of see how they break through the Tyranitar, because while Dragonite has access to things like Low Kick, and even the Primate stands to stand against it, launching that fighting move and taking advantage of the 4x weakness, Tyranitar has been known to use Terra Flying. So if it does opt into that, I do want to see how they maneuver the Iron Bundle to take advantage of that newfound Terra type. If they work in tandem, they can overcome that. But outside of that, they may have some trouble, especially if you're looking at a Great Tusk with Ice Spinner to take on the Dragonite, breaking through that Tyranitar in the clutch. So I do want to give Alex a little bit of advantage into this matchup, but depends on how well Purplepiglis can actually maneuver through it and counteract their own Primate, their own Gengar. I haven't seen too much from the Mouse Hole recently, but they may not want to use it here because of the potential of Rock Slide from both Tyranitar and Great Tusk. Who knows? It might become valuable in the clutch, but I think a lot of the onus is on Iron Bundle and Dragonite to perform even better than they have been performing so far, which is asking a lot. So let's take a look and see how it plays out. Here we go. On the bottom of your screen there's Alex's team with Great Tusk, Magneton, Corviknight, Gengar, Tyranitar, and Indeedee. Meanwhile, in the top corner, we've got Purplepiglis with the Iron Bundle, Dragonite, Jumpluff, Primate, Bisharp, and Gyarados. So nothing too far out of the ordinary for either player here. Leading us off, though, is going to be on Purplepiglis' side, Jumpluff and Dragonite, facing off against Indeedee and Great Tusk, which is not a Psychic Surge. Indeedee here, make note of that. Great Tusk exits the field in favor of Tyranitar here. Dragonite's going to protect, try and scout things out as Jumpluff initiates Tailwind, which is counteracted by Indeedee's Trick Room to set us up for these next few turns here. Right, Jumpluff's going to use Rage Powder, try and defend against this, but Rock Slide doesn't care too much about that, hits both Pokemon, brings them down low. Indeedee doesn't care about it with its own Dazzling Gleam here, which takes out Jumpluff, but crucially, leaves Dragonite alive and is allowed to low kick Tyranitar for a one-hit KO. 1-to-1 trade here. Sandstorm is still going, chipping out Dragonite, so it can't be too long before it's gone from this world here. Primate and Great Tusk enter the field. Dragonite's going to protect, stall out some more turns for the Trick Room. Primate's going to do the same. Indeedee with another Dazzling Gleam, trying to close out the KO on Dragon Knight. Nothing doing it just yet. Great Tusk with a knockoff aimed at the Primeape here. Right. Terra Steel from the Primeape, try and defend against that Dazzling Gleam. However, Great Tusk, content to just close combat into that slot to maximize its damage. Super effective now thanks to that Terra. Not sure that was supposed to work. Not that sure that was going to work out in their favor unless Iron Bundle here, who's left at the end, 1v3, is going to, well, had like a not so great Terra into Great Tusk either here. Either way, it's going to try its best to see if it can bring it back. Stalls at the last turn of Trick Room and Sandstorm here. Gets a Freeze Dry on the Great Tusk, but meets its Focus Sash. Great Tusk lives to close combat it back, who meets its Focus Sash in return. It's going to be useful information for this next game here as Magneton closes out this game. Let's go ahead and move on into number 2 here. And this time we're going to see Bisharp leading us off, sitting next to the Gyarados. Indeedee and Great Tusk once again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Alright, Bisharp leaving the field, Dragonite coming in. Indeedee showing its Fake Out onto the Gyarados. Great Tusk gonna double up with a knockoff, finds and gets rid of Gyarados' Citrus Berry. Turn number 2, Terra flying from the Dragonite, try and get some damage rolling. Indeedee with the Helping Hand. Great Tusk uses knockoff on the Dragonite, finds the clear amulet, but curiously enough, no Ice Spinner or no Rock Slide it seems, to try and get some more damage on the board. Gyarados uses Taunt to stop Indeedee from trying to Trick Room any further, but Terra Blast aimed at the Great Tusk doesn't KO it. It's down low though. Indeedee gonna escape the field in favor of Tyranitar. As Gyarados aims into the Great Tusk with the Waterfall, Dragonite going for the Terra Blast, aimed for Indeedee, finds the resistant rock typing of Tyranitar. Sandstorm chipping away a little bit. And Great Tusk is gonna exit in favor of Indeedee again. Tyranitar showing off the Terra Poison, pretty cool option here. Waterfall gonna be aiming Indeedee, pretty good bit of damage, low kick. Not going to grab the KO on Tyranitar this time thanks to that Terra. Rock Slide though, doing a ton of damage, brings Gyarados down low, and Sandstorm finishes off Gyarados' remaining health here. Dragonite on Life Alert. It's up to Primeape, who comes in to try and salvage the game here. Has a pretty good shot versus a Tyranitar, even though it's Terra Poison here. Both of them are going to protect though, as the Dragonite Terra Blast into the Indeedee slot, removing it from the field. Alright, Tyranitar brought just low enough thanks to that Sandstream to show that it has Citrus Berry. As Magneton comes in, Dragonite gonna protect, stall out some of these Sandstorm turns here. As the Primeape bulks up, gets ready for the following turn. Thunderbolt from Magneton not doing too much here. And now there is the Rock Slide, of course, with the Primeape resisting it and having that boosted defense stat right now. Tyranitar gonna get out of dodge here in favor of the Great Tusk, who is low on health. Magneton gonna protect, correctly does so versus the Drain Punch from the Primeape, but Great Tusk goes down to the Terra Flying from the Dragonite here. Alright, Sandstorm goes down, so we see the scheme from Alex. They want to reset that sand, get some additional chip going. Magneton gonna use Helping Hand here. Try and boost some of this Rock Slide damage. Primeape shows off the Drain Punch, doesn't KO a very apparently bulky Magneton. Dragonite gonna finish things off though with a low kick. Finalizing the KO on Dragonite with the Rock Slide, but on its lonesome, it's staring down a Primeape and the Bisharp that we saw at the beginning of the game that hasn't got really rear its head just yet. Primeape with the Rage Fist, doing a good bit of damage, and Bisharp, the Iron Head, gonna close out the KO and bring us into a game number 3. So both sets so far in the semifinals have gone to game number 3. All the players trying to hang on until the very end and make it to these finals here. Gyarados and Bisharp one more time as they meet up with Indeedee and Gengar this time from Alex. We talked a little bit about it before this match. Terra Fairy immediately coming out, Helping Hand to boost the damage here. Gyarados trying to scout out what this Gengar wants to do here, and it's Dazzling Gleam doing a hefty amount of damage to this Bisharp. Night Slash from the Bisharp going into the Indeedee, crucially enough, does not grab the KO, doesn't crit, activates the Ogwalv Berry, so Indeedee gets a little bit more health. Indeedee with another Helping Hand. Bisharp gonna Sucker Punch here. Doesn't do too much to the Gengar thanks to that Terra Fairy typing. and it's just going to allow it to get another Dazzling Gleam off. Takes 66% health off of Gyarados while closing the KO out here. But for its troubles, it gets a Thunder Wave. Dragonite's going to come in and try and wreak some havoc. Gengar's going to escape the field in favor of Tyranitar, expecting that Terra Flying to come into that slot. Gyarados, though, is going to Waterfall instead. It's a pretty good amount of damage here. Activates the Citrus Berry, as a matter of fact, as the Dragonite uses its Terra Flying Terra Blast to KO the Indeedee here. 1 for 1 so far. Let's see how it plays out. Great Tusk going to come in, undeterred by Intimidate since it's fresh. Dragonite with the Protect correctly defends against the Great Tusk, who again does not seem to have Ice Spinner or Rock Slide, instead has to rely on Knockoff to do damage to the Dragonite here. Tyranitar with the Rock Slide shortly after the Gyarados uses Waterfall to take a hefty chunk off of the Gyarados here. The Rock Slide is going to go ahead and KO the Gyarados, allowing Primeape to be brought onto the field. Great Tusk with the Close Combat. Pretty decent damage to the Dragonite, but still wanting for more, not having anything to really take advantage of the Flying type here. Primeape with the Bulk Up to defend and set up for these next couple of turns, while the Terra Blast from the Dragonite, not the Low Kick, aimed into the Tyranitar. That may have been a mistake, as Tyranitar gets to use Rock Slide to finally KO this Dragonite. There's a little bit of chip damage to the Primeape. Great Tusk with the Knockoff to knock off the Eviolite from the Primeape, as it takes another Bulk Up here. Tyranitar with the Iron Heads gets some neutral damage going here. It's Primeape against the world. Remember, there's still the Gengar still in the back, ready to take the Drain Punch if it was aimed into the Tyranitar, but you don't have to worry about that. A crit from the Headlong Rush from the Great Tusk is going to close out the KO and bring Alex into the finals for this draft league. I think the turn of the time may have been that call from the Dragonite, possibly predicting a switch into the Gengar. Didn't want to low kick directly into it, opted for the Terra Blast Flying there. Unfortunately, the Tyranitar stayed in very bravely and was able to pick up that KO pretty quickly. Otherwise, may have been in dire straits, as the Great Tusk, again, gotta point out, didn't seem to have anything to really punish any Flying types on the team. You can only imagine how much different that match may have been looked if that turn looked a little bit different. Nonetheless, congrats to both players for making it this far, and in particular, congrats to Alex for making it into the finals. And with that, group number 1 proves that it is indeed number 1, as the top 2 slots of this competition are taken up by members of group number 1, Manny and Alex. Once again, congratulations for making it this far. We're going into one final phase where we determine who is the champion of this draft league. So once that match is concluded, they do have indeed a week to actually play out the match as they need to. We'll go ahead and do another one of these breakdowns. So stay tuned here, of course. Leave a like and a comment. Always appreciate that. Either way, I will see you in the next one. Take care.